I must confess that there are those moments when I feel a sense of inadequacy as a symbol. It is never easy for one to accept the role of symbolism without going through constant moments of self-examination. And I must confess that there are moments when I begin to wonder whether I am adequate or whether I'm able to face all of the challenges and even the responsibilities of this particular position. I don't think anyone in a situation like this can go through it without confronting moments of real fear. But I have always had something that gave me an inner sense of assurance and an inner sense of security in the final analysis, even in the moments of loneliness. Something ultimately came to remind me that in this struggle, because it is basically right, because it is a thrust forward to achieve something not just for Negro people, but something that will save the whole of mankind. And when I have come to see these things, I always felt a sense of cosmic companionship, so that the loneliness and the fear have faded away because of a greater feeling of security, because of commitment to a moral ideal.
Fear is okay, but fear should never stop action. So we saw it, we all saw it.
Nazi ain't got no humanity. They're the foot soldiers of a Jew-hating, mass-murdering maniac, and they need to be destroyed.
The right is repeating history, so why can't we? If you repeated history, then you know how we respond. People who do stuff like that. It makes me really sad that the left can see the end of the world before they can see the end of fascism. And it just further shows how white supremacist capitalist patriarchy has robbed us of our imaginations. What are you fighting for? Like, seriously, if you can't see the end of fascism. You gotta figure it out, and figure it out soon, because your doubt is gonna be dangerous for yourself and others. Because fear is one thing, right? Everybody has fear. But nihilism is another thing. It's a choice. Nobody chooses to be scared, but you choose to give up when you say, we're doomed, we're cooked, whatever other doomerism phrase that people are throwing around on the internet. And people don't understand that negativity is like wildfire. Negativity genuinely is like wildfire, and it will spread. So the more that you post, oh, we're cooked, the more people say it in comments, the more everybody's saying it in public to each other, and then the right and the fascists win, because that's what they do these things for. Be afraid, but don't be paralyzed with fear. Be afraid, but you have to get your nervous system out of the freeze response. And I'm so serious, and there's many ways to do that. Insert clip.
Somatic experiencing in 60 seconds. So, first, what is meant by somatic? Somatic relates to the body as distinct from the mind. So somatic experiencing is literally the experiencing of the body. We spend much of our time using our bodies to simply carry our brains around, and so most of what we experience is actually a concept from the brain. Happy, sad, angry, panicky, not feelings. They're concepts that the brain uses to help us understand the symptoms of our internal world. When humans are threatened, we have a similar response to that of animals, and yet animals don't typically experience PTSD because they use their natural system to restore balance. Humans have this ability as well, except that we also have the ability to override our inbuilt healing system by using cognitive strategies like denial or distraction. This means that the body is never able to fully process the threat. In the case of trauma, where fight and flight aren't possible, the stress response energy is locked into the body, and it's this energy that SE targets. SE is a therapy which is designed to counter the experience of trauma, gently allowing the body to relearn how to use its natural ability to restore balance in the present, where during a traumatic experience, this simply was not an option.
This is me. I wrote an outline with like a semi-script. So this is literally me just signing on here being frazzled at the last 2-3 days. Like, I am not saying that people's fear and sorrow and sadness is not justified. I am sorry that people are afraid. I'm sorry that my fellow community members are worried about their lives. But the people who are saying that and not doing anything, you're admitting that you're giving up already. And I would rather you not tell me. Don't tell me that you don't care enough to even try. Not right now.
First, everyone take a deep breath. Now, respectfully, I need to talk to the white people. Please come to the front. If this doesn't apply to you, obviously ignore it. Now listen, you have a right to be scared, you have a right to be alarmed, you have a right to be concerned. However, this seems new to you because you've never been targeted. I need you to calm down and lock in. Stop promoting messages of mass hysteria that we're all cooked, we're all doomed, I need to move out of the country. We are not as hopeless or powerless or divided as you keep insisting on. You're just new to the game. This is not a time to cower in fear or throw your hands up in defeat. Things have looked grim for a lot of us. You've just been living in privilege. You saying that you need to flee the country, we need to get out of here, we can't possibly stay here is an example of your privilege. The rest of us have had ancestors along with us who have stayed in this country to continuously fight for change. This is not a call out by any means, and if you feel yourself getting agitated by my message, you need to address that before you can join the rest of us. Because you need to talk less, act more, and lock in. Welcome to the club. Now, for the rest of us who that doesn't apply to, who is also spreading the same message, your anger can either create tunnel vision or a bird's eye view. One of those people's main tactic is to test the waters on how crazy they can be. You're going to see a lot of things over this time period. They will test the waters to see how much can be dismissed and gaslit. You're either going to focus on that main event over and over and over and over, keep on gasping for the next 4 years so you can't catch a full breath, or you're going to look at the bigger picture of things.
Because if you're sinking, ask for help. It's one thing to say we're cooked, it's another thing to say I'm depressed, I don't know what to do, I'm overwhelmed, I'm afraid for my future, I feel paralyzed and indecision, I don't know where to turn, I don't know who to trust. Those are all things that can actually end up with solutions. We're cooked throws your hands in the air and there is no solution to we're cooked. We're cooked is a period at the end of the sentence. Stop saying we're cooked, stop saying we're doomed, stop saying we're over. People on the left say that because they like gallows humor, but gallows humor doesn't help us if you're not doing anything else in addition to the gallows humor. If you're only doing gallows humor, you're submitting. And I don't do that. I have PDA autism.
Then he had us. Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
You know, you don't have to open your door to ICE or watch your neighbors get deported at all. You don't have to sit by and take anything, actually.
During the first Trump administration, we realized part of what our opponents wanted was to make us afraid. Sometimes a rumor about ICE detentions on WhatsApp would lead parents to keep their children home from school. So at first, we started verifying rumors. Siembra volunteers would show up to a reported ICE agent and find out what was going on, and we would report back via social media channels or sometimes by broadcasting a text message. After we started training people on how to identify ICE agents, we started getting more reports of suspected agents on stakeouts. And these went up dramatically during ICE operations when ICE agents would gather from multiple offices to attempt to make dozens of arrests. Because we had a bilingual hotline dispatch team and we had trusted volunteers in multiple counties, we could dispatch volunteers quickly at all hours of the day. And when these bigger operations would happen, we created a shift schedule to proactively post volunteers in areas where we knew ICE agents gathered in advance of the operations or in immigrant neighborhoods to look out for agents on stakeouts. We know of a few instances when ICE agents chose to abandon their stakeout when confronted by our volunteers, but the real victory was that the idea of ICE Watch went viral. In June 2019, when ICE conducted a number of detentions in central North Carolina, we shared photos of volunteers waiting for them early in the morning, and across the state, people started sending us photos of themselves on their own stakeouts in places like Laurinburg, far from established immigrant defense groups. That was the real victory. Not that we could stop every ICE arrest, but that people were willing to take risks to protect each other and not let our opponents scare us into giving up our way of life or our dignity.
I'm sure people who watch me have not been told that explicitly, but like you literally don't have to listen to rules. Like the pearl clutching of this all from liberals is really what upsets me the most about this, because it's like that means you haven't been really listening to us either. But we knew this. People think that we are overreacting or dramatic, we're harsh, we're too much, but like nobody likes the sound of a smoke alarm, right? You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to like the sound of a fucking smoke alarm. It's supposed to be loud, it's supposed to be obnoxious, it's in that high high octave on purpose to alert not only you, but other living beings. It's loud, it's a high octave, it's obnoxious, and it keeps going. It repeats itself until you figure out where the smoke's coming from and subdue the fire. Right? If a smoke alarm was whispering to you in the tune of a Sade song, would you listen to it? I didn't think so. So for everybody who keeps talking about how the left, it needs to soften their messaging or whatever, like, you guys actually need to grow out of your fragility. You have to speed run through your naivete, and that includes being told the cold, harsh truth. And I know it's like a cold plunge, but once you do a cold plunge, your body adjusts to the temperature. Your body adjusts to the temperature. So stop telling the left that we have to do different things in order for you guys to listen to us, when you guys are just using that as excuses to not listen at all and to not do anything at all. That's why people would rather say that we're cooked and, oh, I'm moving and all that stuff. For the people who are actually very scared and their lives are actually in danger, which I know there are thousands of people, if they have the means to leave, do so. But I'm talking about people who have just now discovered that America's fascist, who have been ignoring Black and Indigenous people. Even in my own experience, there's a reason why I'm a loner who mostly makes YouTubes, DJs, and hangs out with their cat all the time, because I've spent the greater part of my young adult to adult years being very vocal about politics to everyone that I know and everyone I associated with. To the point of people stopped hanging out with me. I was the subject of many a group chat being told that I am too dramatic and I make everything about politics and I'm not fun to be around. And I know last video I said it's not the time to shame people, but to help them understand. But like, I've literally been saying this for a long time. Y'all are new to me. Obviously I'm new to YouTube, but like, I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. And it's just a lot of grief and anger that people on the left like myself have in relation to this, because we were trying to stop this from happening.
They were not joking when they said being a leftist is just being right too soon, but unfortunately it never feels like a satisfying I told you so, because there's already so much loss. It just feels like constant grief.
And if only people paid attention to us or listened to us, we wouldn't be as far along as we are. Some lessons are only learned through experiencing themselves, you know? The thing is that people didn't think that the monster of white supremacist capitalist patriarchy would ever rear its ugly head towards them. They never fathomed it. They would hear me talk about what it's like being a working class Black person who has a disability, who's queer, all these things, and they would go, oh yeah, that's so bad for you, and then go on and live their lives. But now they're gonna feel what I've been trying to explain to them, you know, and it sucks. And like I said in my post earlier this week on YouTube in the community thread, is that we're not gonna get apologies, you know? No one who said all those things to me or made me feel bad or isolated me, tried to make me feel like a bad person, all those people who damaged me and my reputation because I did things like call out rapists and racists and stand 10 toes down on my politics while other people made excuses for them. They're going through this awakening, I'm sure of it right now, but it's not like they're gonna go out of their way to find me and apologize. My ex told me that I was the most negative person he's ever met because of my politics, me being anarchist. I'm sure he saw the Zig Heil on television, and he's not gonna try to reach out to me or email me or call me and be like, oh, I'm so sorry about mistreating you because I thought that you were lost. You know, he's not gonna do that. None of these people are gonna do that, and it sucks. Because human nature, our hearts deserve that forgiveness and that apology, you know? But they're not gonna give it to us, so at the very least, I'll take it. You drop down in the thread your losses as a leftist, anarchist, Marxist, whatever you identify with, for standing up for stuff.
I just had a conversation with who I'm going to describe as an anonymous white person who works in education, who was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Elon did that on stage. And I was like, yeah, that's welcome to the new age. And they were like, it's because he's autistic and like lacks social skills, right? And I was like, we've both worked with autistic students before. You and I both know that's not autism. If he lacks social skills, it's probably because he's a Nepo baby who's never been told no. But the part I'd like to unpack is the need to try to find a reason. What I said to them is, the reason why you're trying to assign this action to some neurodivergence is because you have been trained to try to find a reason and to excuse away racism on behalf of white people, especially white men. That is white supremacy living on the inside of you. And that is a you thing that you need to take time to unpack here in 2025, because it's just going to keep happening. And as it keeps happening, the question is, are you going to push against it, or are you going to make excuses for it? Because at least the black folks I know, the black folks in my life, the black folks I've seen on my feed, when it happened, we were like, I mean, yeah, of course he did that. Are you shocked? I guess, but like, most of us have seen white people do some extremely out-of-pocket things behind closed doors. We just assume that they now feel emboldened with Trump to do it outside. So we don't have time to walk anymore. You need to unpack white supremacy expeditiously. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
And if you are continuing to push through, you're a warrior, my guy. Like I say all the time, people who say being a social justice warrior is bad, they're the op. Because what is wrong with standing up against your principles and saying, I actually believe this shit? Try me, bitch. Like, that's actually the coolest thing in the world to me. But, you know, like, this is where we are. Maybe that's where my matter-of-factness comes from. Because, like, I've experienced this grief for decades, literal decades. I started warning people about Trump in 2014 and 2015 when he started floating the idea that he wanted to run. But I was told I was just as bad as them for bringing it up constantly. I had people who were supposed to be my so-called allies, you know what I mean? So when I see people like Elon Musk go up and do what he did and then backtrack, it makes me angry, yes, but it also makes me laugh, because I'm not afraid of someone who can't be willing to fully admit who they are in their fullness. When it's bigotry, bigots are never blatant about that. They want plausible deniability because they're actually more afraid than we are. This is a very crucial moment right now. Because if we give in to fear, that's when they win. Yes, he did a fascist thing, and he's trying to instill fear in all who that threatens, which is all of us. But if he can't stand on it, he's a bitch and he's scared. So you shouldn't be scared. Why are you afraid of being anti-fascist? Why are you afraid of being anti-fascist? Even using America's own propaganda, I can name some cool anti-fascists. What do I need to give you guys to believe that you're on the right side of history? You're on the right side of history. If you're Antifa, you're on the right side of history. If you think that you're on the wrong side of history, propaganda is deeper in your head than you think. It's like an earworm.
You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
They have a lot of dog whistles because they're afraid. So everything's a club because they're afraid that once you know who they are, you'll do something about it. So I want to talk about how you should fight Nazis from skinheads and punks. At some point I'll do a long form video about what real skinheads are, because like most things, racist, white supremacists colonized a culture that was taken from Jamaicans in the 60s that migrated to Britain and integrated with working class white people in Britain.
The skinhead movement started in the 1960s and was born from working class young people identifying with other cultures, such as Jamaican immigrants. Black music is at the heart of skinhead culture.
Trojan helmet there, that's for the Trojan Records, reggae record label. I got a floral with hammers going through it because the hammers stand for working class. It's a working class subculture, isn't it? So the way I've been brought up is if I want something, I go out, work for it, and I'll get it. And that's what working class means to me. I might borrow a fiver off my mum every now and then, but that's about it.
That's where skinhead culture actually came from. It was multicultural, multinational, and it was about being working class and protecting yourself and having pride in yourself and your job and your friends and your work. It's very Marxist in that way if you really think about it, because it's like, I'm a worker, I'm a proletariat. Like, that's what true skinhead culture is.
is a story of a 1980s multiracial skinhead gang called the Baldies. In the 1980s, the Minneapolis teenage scene was filled with punks being influenced by the skinhead scene in England. The original skinhead movement's biracial roots had brought together black and white working class with their style and music. With their Doc Martens and shaved heads, they looked cool and had anti-authoritarian beliefs. When white supremacist skinheads reached Minneapolis, the Baldies found their purpose. They would fight them to be true to the original skinheads and to their non-white friends. They gave the white power kids ultimatums: either switch sides or get beat up. White supremacist skinheads were a problem across the country, so the Baldies joined with other groups. They held lectures and marches, fought Nazis together, and eventually formed a group called Anti-Racist Action, or ARA. While a group of teenagers from South Minneapolis wasn't going to end white supremacy, this is a story about community, about kids who wanted to come together to fight for what they found to be unjust.
The best way to describe it is that these people are afraid of us because they know that they are outnumbered. A crowd of people can make a huge difference against someone that is a threat to all of us. My roots also in America are deeper than Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and all of their supporters combined, genuinely. So there's no way in hell these people are gonna come here and try to tell me how things are supposed to go here. You don't even go here. And it's not patriotism. It's not patriotism. So I'm gonna defend it. The true idea of democracy, which is anarchism. It's important for all Americans, but this is to Black Americans specifically, to support and protect our immigrant comrades, because these idiots want to revoke the 14th Amendment also, which would strip us of citizenship too. So a threat to one of us is a threat to all of us. Anarchists always get the reputation of being annoying, right? And it's because we're an alarm system. Also, I wanted to bring up that you should ask your ex-evangelical friends like myself how to navigate some of this also. I think it's really important for people to stop trivializing people and making jokes about people on the right, because they truly believe in biblical Armageddon. They don't care that you think that they're stupid, because they think that God's gonna wipe you out and give them the earth. So what's better, being smug and right or armed and ready?
There's about a third of this country that's very hard right. Of course they love Trump. When he left office, he had an approval rating of 34%. So he really only had those people. Why is he now like tied? Because the other part of the coalition are people who, they don't really like him that much. They just think the far left has gone so nutty on so many issues.
That's what they're being told.
I was brought up to be alt-right. My father's like a more clean-cut version of Steve Bannon. And from a young age, like what I was told was that this was supposed to be a white nation and that people of color and others are being brought here and encouraged to come here in an effort to eliminate the white majority. So this idea is better known as replacement theory, or like the great replacement. Now that right there is the driving force behind the MAGA movement. And Leon doing his Yahtzee salute on Inauguration Day and Donnie pardoning the leaders of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, that shit is them saying what they're about to do and trying to instill fear. It's them saying that they have no intention anymore of trying to hide that this will be their governing ideology. They're in the intimidation stage, and they know they're in power now, and they want people to be too afraid to go against them. And the awful things that they're going to be able to justify in order to maintain their view of white dominance in this country should freak everyone the fuck out, because these people, they don't believe in all human beings having the same rights and freedoms. They'll find reasons to justify what they want to do with deportation, putting people in camps, persecution of trans people, women, and so many others. They'll justify this shit. They're already starting to, and it's like only day 2. So it's going to be up to all of us to stand up to this shit, people. Make no mistake about it, though. We are the majority in this country. There are more people here that believe in equal rights than do not. And we cannot allow this minority to push their fucking agenda. Like, I know shit's all fucked up right now, but we have to stay focused. We have to stay pissed off, and we have to stay resilient. Like, this is not over. It's just the fucking beginning. And we have to push back every step of the fucking way, and anywhere we can, and keep bringing to light all the shit that they're doing and what their real agenda is. Like, they will go as far as we allow, all right? Civil disobedience is the way. You see an ice raid coming, you fucking holler a migra. Somebody asks you if you saw something, no, you fucking didn't. Like, we have to take care of each other, and every act that we do of resistance is important. None of that is futile. So we have to tell them that we're not going to tolerate this shit. Fuck these fascists. Do not be afraid, and do not fucking comply.
White liberals and leftos also aren't gonna like what I'm about to say, but everyone saying we're cooked on day one have been putting the pain and suffering of people of color obviously on a pedestal. For some reason, you think that we can survive fascism, like black people, indigenous people, people of color, marginalized people, disabled people, everybody I'm forgetting. Do you think we're superhuman or subhuman? Like, I don't like pain. Like, that's another thing. You know, I was talking about the suffering I've been through as a leftist, and like I said, drop below, I'll hold space for you. Every time I talk to people about what I've been through, they'd be like, you're so strong. What other choice do I have? It's not strength that I have. It's either live or die. Like, living is resistance. What's not clicking, Steven? Like, you think that black people are superhuman. You think Palestinians are superhuman, because Palestinian people have even less than we do, and they resisted. They defeated an entire army with the support of the Western world behind them. They experienced unfathomable sorrow, but they're still there.
نتنياهو انت بتتقوى علينا بالآليات وبالشرفات وبالدبابات والصواريخ، نحن نتقوى عليكم بحروف الله وكلمات. صدق الله. انتصرنا هيك عملوا هيك.
I feel like this is truly white chauvinism and learned helplessness. The idea that white people are better. So like, you can't handle it because like, you deserve better than what this is. So like, I'm just gonna give up. Like, it's not easy. Nothing worth working for is easy. It's not something we are built for over you. We just have no choice but to resist. For instance, like, you have no reps right now in the resistance at all, and you think you can lift 500 pounds, and then you're like, oh, I can't do it. Well, yeah, because you're starting at 500 pounds. You don't even have correct form yet. You haven't tried to max your PR, see what you even can handle. No one thinks this is easy. Every activist feels exactly what you feel. They feel isolated, they cry, and they struggle. They struggle with community, they struggle with jobs. You're not the first or the last one, because it's not easy to go against fascism. They built it that way on purpose. We've been saying this for a while. But because we believe in our message, it's worth the pain and the fight. The more like-minded people you find, the less the pain will affect you. Straight up. It's not that the pain hurts less, it's that you become more resilient. You become more resilient. I believe that the liberation of all people is actually worth it. Do you think it's worth it? Do you really believe that? Everybody wants to be Malcolm X, but nobody wants to be on the podium. Do you really think we can just handle this better than you as people of color, as disabled people, as sex workers, as marginalized people? Do you really think that? No, we don't know how to handle it better. We just learned how to adopt. Palestinians have been resisting in genocide, some of them till their last breath, with sticks and rocks in their hand. We still have rights. We still have the internet. We still have the ability to travel and communicate with each other. And you're giving up on day one? Whatever happened to give me liberty or give me death? Is that just a slogan to y'all? It's okay to be scared, but the gag is that they're scared too. They're scared too. If they weren't scared, they would have said it with their chest their entire time. The reason why there's so many people being horrified at this, that they were duped, is because of the doublespeak, because they were scared. Anybody who is not scared will speak clearly and with intention, but Donald Trump and all his sycophants are liars. They have to make up that it's a heart gesture or something else. I'm not ashamed of being an anarchist because there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing wrong with believing in the equality of all humans and the liberation for all. There's nothing wrong with being anti-fascist, because fascism means death of so many people. They're ashamed because they're Nazis. There's no debate on that. So why are you cowering in fear? Why are you the one who feels insecure? Are you listening? Are you paying attention? It's because the real truth of it is that communication works in many ways. It's about what you say, but also what you don't say. So when they don't say the truth, they're admitting that they're afraid. And when you say we're cooked, you're saying that you're okay with the status quo. Are you? No? Then stop saying it. You're also showing that you're a potential danger. Like I said before, you're a potential threat to me, yourself, and your community when you give in to nihilism. Nihilism means nothing matters anymore. And if you end on that, instead of nothing matters so I can do whatever I want or I can believe in myself, you're missing the plot. When times are really dire, you know what I mean? Oh, I don't have to do mutual aid because we're cooked. I don't have to go protest the ICE raid that's happening in my town because we're cooked already. Oh, we're cooked. I don't have to do anything. We're cooked already. You would rather be depressed and self-indulging, and I'm gonna be honest because that's what it is, than try anything at all and fail. And you have to get over that and get over yourself and your own ego. And this is big sibling coming here. 33. Get over yourself.
The dudes get into philosophy and immediately jump to nihilism, confused why they still feel bad. Bro, go to something functional. Ludwig von Wittgenstein. Crazy name, right? Check me out. It's about communication. It'll probably help your life get a lot better when you understand how to talk to people and how people communicate rather than trying to cosplay Kratos from God of War.
If you can't get over this, and I know this is not something you may not want to hear, but then you shouldn't organize with us. You're not ready. You're not ready to be in the field. And it's okay for you to be honest about that. Because people who aren't principled are a safety issue. And that's straight up, especially when things start ramping up like it is now. So how do you become more principled? By becoming more confident in yourself, your beliefs, and the work that you do with your community. And how do you do that? With action. And how do you do that? With revolutionary optimism. Revolutionary optimism is unrelenting hope. I truly believe nihilism is white supremacy. It just is. It's chauvinistic in thought. You're saying that your reality is the only valid reality that there is. That there is no one smarter than you, no one more capable than you to help, and that your ideals are the most important. So when you say we're cooked and there's no hope left, you got it all figured out, Sherlock, so we should just hang it up. There's no reason for me to be on the streets or on YouTube or anything.
Oh, well, come on, Teletubby. Teleport us to Mars.
Because you said we're cooked, though. Because if we're cooked, that means no one's smarter than you to fix it, you know? You're saying that to feel better, and that's it. It doesn't even help you long term to feel that or say that out loud. It's like eating fast food. You feel satiated in the moment when you eat your Happy Meal and when you fall into your Doomerism, but then you have no nutrition. You're still hungry for community, support, care. You still don't feel better after saying it. And you wonder why you can't think positively about the systems that you say you support. You're feeding your own seeds of doubt into yourself. When you sow bad seeds into your psyche, you're promoting your own crop failure. The ideals you want to help continue making a reality can exist. So what do you really believe in, and what side are you on? And I'm being dead ass when I say you gotta pick soon. Revolutionary optimism is the belief that transformative change, even in the face of oppression, struggle, or adversity, is not only possible but inevitable. It is a mindset rooted in emphasizing the potential for progress through collective action, resilience, and the belief in humanity's capacity to create a better future. When you realize and recognize this, you begin to realize that revolutionary optimism is not a mood or a feeling. It is a practice, it's a discipline, like going to the gym. It embodies a conviction that history moves forward through struggle and that justice, equality, and freedom can prevail over oppression, exploitation, and tyranny. You must have a belief in progress, whether or not you see it in the present moment. Farmers still tend to their crops when the seeds are in the ground. You will feel more confident in your beliefs and in the progress that you make the more you do to participate in it yourself. With what you say, with what you do, how you spend your money, how you choose your time. There is a commitment to collective action. It reflects a faith in the power of solidarity and mass mobilization to dismantle oppressive systems and build alternatives. Revolutionary optimism immediately disarms nihilism and Doomerism because Doomerism relies on the white supremacist culture notion of individuality. With revolutionary optimism, you recognize that it's not just you fighting this, okay? Not just you, not just your corner of the internet, not just your favorite leftist YouTuber, not just your favorite organization or your favorite politician. It is all of us.
Today in Milan, a student activist group hung a trash-filled effigy of Elon Musk upside down on a gate outside of Piazza Loreto, where Mussolini's body was displayed in 1945. They left the message, "There's always room in Piazza Loreto, Elon."
And no, it's not naivete to believe that. Being cynical and nihilistic does not make you the smartest person in the room. It just makes you the one who's conditioned into white supremacy the most. You're the one who needs to be gentle with themselves and unlearning, but you have to be aggressive with battling the cop in your own head, because you can't have a hope amid struggle, which is why I'm like, The people who are saying, we're cooked the most are people who haven't really experienced anything. They haven't really gone through anything, which is why they're freaking out. And I'm not saying this to make light of what we're up against. My ancestors have been here since before the Declaration of Independence. They had way less resources than me. Some of my ancestors didn't even read, but I'm here. That means they survived. Clock in. Revolutionary optimism does not ignore hardship or the likelihood of setbacks. Instead, it acknowledges the difficulties of systemic change, but maintains hope as a driving force. Things are hard. Things were always hard. Welcome to this reality if you were unaware. Yes, Elon did the thing. Yes, Trump is doing all these things. But what can we do right now? Being frozen in your fear or disbelief is quite literally how they advance. They're counting on you to be stuck in the freeze response. And even better, they want you to become the fawn response. So no, don't read The Art of War to manipulate your girlfriend, but maybe watch a few military videos and tactic videos to understand where these people are coming from. The very first video I made that went viral was about how America was descending into fascism, and I made the joke about how the History Channel has all these Nazi videos. And like, if you pay attention to that, you'll see what they're gonna do next. You'll see what they're planning, and then we can also build counter-resistance towards that. It involves imagining new possibilities and systems that are more just, equitable, and sustainable to believe in revolutionary optimism, because this vision fuels the revolutionaries' persistence in working toward a world that does not yet exist. So you have to use your imagination again. If you immediately think there is no solution, that we're cooked, that everything is doomed, you have to pause and realize that you have lost your imagination completely. Mourn that part of yourself, because the little kid in you is bored as shit. You don't have to start with something big to bring it back either. Just start believing in possibilities beyond yourself. Even if you can't believe it for yourself, believe it for someone else, and your imagination will continue to grow. Tapping into creativity is actually anti-fascist. Nihilism requires a hero or a savior, which is why people dive into it, because there is no one savior ever gonna come. Revolutionary optimism empowers you to have your own agency. We the people have the power to act and make meaningful change. It is a rejection of fatalism or resignation to the status quo. Even when faced with failure or repression, revolutionary optimism remains a source of inspiration to continue the struggle, often focusing on the lessons learned and the possibilities for future victories. There is resilience in so-called defeat, because the war isn't over. If you believe in the commitment to justice, you know that it's never just one president, one action from some guy, one day. It's never just one thing. Karl Marx saw history as a process of class struggle that would inevitably lead to a classless society, and he believed in it so much he wrote about it, and we are still referencing this man today. If he gave into Doomerism, we would not have Marxism. Rosa Luxemburg expressed revolutionary optimism by believing in the transformative power of mass movements and the necessity of democratic participation in revolution. And even when she was imprisoned, she remained hopeful. Frantz Fanon highlighted the psychological and social liberation that comes through struggle against colonialism, rooted in a belief in the oppressed capacity to rise up and reclaim their humanity. And that man was a pessimist. He still had revolutionary optimism because he was a pessimist, not a nihilist. They are different. If you need a refresher on the difference between nihilism and pessimism, watch my Triple Threat of Black Thought video. Emma Goldman may not be traditionally associated with revolutionary optimism in the sense of unrelenting hope, but her views often emphasize the harsh realities of struggle and the need to be constantly vigilant. She believed in the power of the individual and the collective to resist tyranny and create alternatives to authoritarian systems. Her optimism was never naive, but it was grounded in action and in courage, and as well as a willingness to critique even those movements she supported if they strayed away from her own principles. She famously said the most violent element in society is ignorance. That statement highlights the belief in the transformative power of knowledge and education as tools for revolution. Her vision can be seen as revolutionary optimism because she had a commitment to joy and the richness of human life. She rejected the notion that revolution should be joyless and devoid of beauty, fun, romance, famously quipping, "If I can't dance, I don't want to be a part of your revolution." This form of revolutionary optimism is rooted in the conviction that liberation must include not only political and economic freedom, but also also the freedom to experience pleasure, art, and the full spectrum of human emotion. So feel your feelings, but do not stay there if they're negative. While she faced insane hardships, including imprisonment, exile, and constant persecution for her ideas, Goldman's enduring belief in the potential for a better world demonstrates revolutionary optimism. Peter Kropotkin, one of my favorite anarchist theorists, was deeply optimistic about humanity, while everybody around him was a fucking doomer. He believed in humanity's ability to cooperate and create a just society. He wrote an entire book about it and did research on animals about it, called Mutual Aid. It directly challenges the notion of survival of the fittest and Darwinism, that competition is the driving force of human and natural progress. He always argued that cooperation and solidarity are fundamentals to survival and flourishing. If he didn't believe that, he would have been a Darwinist like the rest of the scientists in his era. The Zapatistas are an indigenous-led movement in Mexico, and they embody revolutionary optimism by combining direct action with a hopeful vision of autonomy and self-governance. Their practice of building caracoles, which are self-governed communities, demonstrates the anarchist belief that a better world can be created here and now, even within the structures of oppression. If they didn't believe in the possibility of a future, they wouldn't waste their time doing it. It is vital to counterpoint cynicism and despair. This is my job right now. That's why I'm yelling. I'm yelling at you. I have to be here to remind people that meaningful change is possible. It is, even in the face of overwhelming odds. I'm an atheist, but y'all don't believe in David and Goliath, Jonah and the whale. Negativity is as important as detecting carbon monoxide, and I'm so serious with that because negativity travels like a poison and kills us all silently, just like carbon monoxide. I'm getting it in my comment section like I'm about to start swinging. But instead of that, I'll teach you about anarchist calisthenics. It's a term coined by James C. Scott, a political scientist and anthropologist, in his book, 2 Cheers for Anarchism. It describes small acts of everyday disobedience or resistance to authority as a form of practice or preparation for larger acts of rebellion. Just as calisthenics are exercises that build physical strength, anarchist calisthenics build the capacity for resistance, autonomy, and nonconformity within individuals and their communities. Scott uses the idea to illustrate how minor routine acts of defiance, such as jaywalking, or ignoring arbitrary rules, hopping the turnstile, or bending minor regulations, can serve as a form of training for individuals to challenge authority more broadly. These small acts foster critical thinking, self-reliance, and the courage to act independently, even in the face of societal or institutional norms. Anarchist calisthenics aren't about being reckless or irresponsible. They're about questioning the legitimacy of rules and the systems around you that are not just or necessary, which is, look around. They also prepare individuals to resist oppressive systems by creating a habit of skepticism towards authority and a readiness to act when larger, more significant opportunities for rebellion arise. You already like anarchist calisthenics too. Martin Luther King Day was this week. He did civil disobedience, which is a form of anarchist calisthenics. Civil disobedience leads you to refuse to comply with unjust laws or regulations, such as protesting discrimination or boycotting unethical businesses. Resistance is every day. Engaging in minor forms of rebellion, like refusing to tiptoe through overly bureaucratic processes, such as unnecessarily complex forms or excessive permits. Organizing mutual aid networks that operate outside of formal systems can show people that they can cooperate without state intervention. The main thing I always get from people who are like, what do I do? They're like, I don't know who to trust to tell me what to do. And it's like, you don't need anybody to tell you what to do. We can have solidarity in our action. You can learn from other people, but you don't need a boss. We're so conditioned to think we need somebody to give us our liberation that we're not going to get it because we're waiting for somebody to tell us to go get it. Challenging societal expectations in ways that may seem small but have broader implications, like going against gender norms or supporting marginalized voices in public spaces, matter. So yeah, even small actions count. So speaking up when that dude's being racist at the barista, or being the annoying person at brunch when your dad does a fucked up joke about Muslims. Wear a Palestine pin at your job. Or an Antifa pin at your job. Get nuts. This shit does not matter anymore. They showed you it doesn't matter anymore. Anarchist calisthenics serve as a reminder that resistance doesn't always start with grand revolution. It begins in everyday decisions to question authority and practice autonomy. These small actions can accumulate in larger movements when individuals and communities are prepared to take collective action. Over time, these practices can erode the power of unjust systems and inspire change, actual change. So live your values now, rather than wait for an ideal condition or permission for someone else who's an authority figure. I'm an anarchist. I don't believe in authority. Someone in my comments, I forget who now, said Americans are always looking for a Caesar, and it's true, but the revolution will be more like I am Spartacus. The real danger to freedom isn't rebellion or disorder, but it's blind obedience to authority and the uncritical acceptance of rules. So many people are just like, oh, this is just what we have to do now. And that's why we don't like liberalism, because look how liberals conceded to the so-called fascists that's going to ruin our democracy. It's because you have uncritical acceptance of the rules, and the fascists are not following rules, so why are you following rules? The folding under pressure, fear and doubt, and doomerism are the real threat to our democracy. By practicing anarchist calisthenics, people cultivate a healthy skepticism and a readiness to resist when confronting with injustice. It's both a critique of state power and a practical guide for building a society based on cooperation and mutual respect, because we are bigger than the worst parts of your imagination or theirs.